biggest mistakes that beginners make when trading options on Webull. And remember, before you ever enter any options trade, please make sure you know how to close it, guys. Now, if you haven't signed up to Webull yet, go ahead and use the link in the description below to sign up and get 3 free stocks valued up to $6,300 by using my link. Keep in mind that Webull has 0 commission fees, which is really great, especially with strategies that have multiple contracts. That doesn't eat away at a lot of your profit. And Webull also offers full extended hours trading. So you can trade full pre-market hours between 4 a.m. and 9:30 a.m. Eastern time, and full after hours between 4 p.m. and 8 p.m. Eastern time, guys. Now, one thing I do want to bring up here very quickly, because I get asked this all the time. For more advanced option trading strategies like credit spreads, debit spreads, condor spreads, you need to have level 3 to use these strategies. And to have level 3, you need to have a margin account. You cannot use these strategies on a cash account. You cannot have level 3 on a cash account. So if you want to use these more advanced option trading strategies, you need to switch from a cash account to a margin account and then apply for level 3 options. That process does take a few weeks, so I would suggest doing that as quickly as possible if you do want to use these more advanced option trading strategies. One last thing, guys, for the best user experience, I recommend using Webull's desktop app. So if you go to Webull.com, you can go to the download tab up here, click on it, and from here you can go ahead and download Webull's desktop app completely free. That is what I'm going to be using here for today's video. So that being said, let's go over to Webull's desktop app. Let's talk about this huge mistake that beginners are making when first trading options. So let's go over to the Webull desktop app. Here we are. This is my account right now. So I'm on the account tab right now. What I want to do here is I want to go over to the stocks tab, which is right here. And I'm going to choose a stock. I'm going to look for a stock here that I'd like to buy or sell options with, right? So you can go up here to the search box and search for whatever stock you want to use. So for today's video, I'm going to be using ticker symbol AFRM, which is Affirm Holdings. And so remember that what I'm going to show you guys here is just an example. So don't copy this exact same trade. Again, this is just to show you guys how all this stuff works. So now that I'm on a stock that I want to buy or sell options with, remember you can go over to the options by going up here. There's multiple different tabs up here, but we want to go over to the options tab here. Now, the first thing you want to do here is choose a proper expiration date. So let's say we're looking to buy or sell options on the stock the following week or this week. My expiration date that I would choose would be February 18th. But remember, you can collapse these and take a look at all the different available expiration dates. But again, I'm just going to use the first expiration date on here, which is February 18th. Now up here on the top left, right now I'm looking at iron condors. Today we're going to be focusing on single options. This is what most people use, right? And single just means, regular calls, regular puts. So if you're buying a call, buying a put, or selling a call, selling a put here. And right now I'm on both. So here are the calls on the left. Here are the puts on the right. Now, as you can see, there's a lot of different options here. So I'm just going to go ahead and decrease the amount of options I see here just to make it easier to read. So I'm going to go over here to this all, and I'm going to just filter it down to around 10 strikes. So as you can see, now we have a lot less options. It's going to be just a lot easier to follow along here. Now, again, here's the big mistake beginners make when trading options, okay? Beginners will come in and all they'll really think of is, okay, if I buy a call, I'm bullish, I want the stock to go up. As long as the stock goes up, I'm going to make money. Similarly with puts, right? They'll come in, they'll buy a put, and they'll say, hey, put means I'm bearish, and as long as the price of the stock drops, I'll make money, right? They'll think that all the stock needs to do is go up for calls or go down for puts, and they'll make money. Not knowing about the different Greeks and how they actually affect the pricing of the option. And so in today's video, I want to go over the Greeks here, how they work, because it's very important that you take a look at the Greeks first before you buy or sell an option to understand how that could affect the pricing of the option, thus affect your profit or loss. Now, as you can see here, firstly, how can we take a look at the Greeks here on Webull, right? Because we don't see any Greeks here. All I'm seeing right now here, as you can see, is I see the bid, I see the ask, I see the mid, I see implied volatility, but that's really all I see here. So what do I need to do? So what you need to do if you can't see the Greeks, you want to go up here to this little button here that says option items, click on it, and then as you can see under available items, if you scroll down, you can go ahead and find the Greeks here. So as you can see under the Greeks, there are 5 different Greeks here. I'm going to be talking about 4 out of the 5. I'm not going to talk about row. This one's not as important as the other 4. So what you can do here is you can click on these 4 and then click on done. You can also, of course, uncheck other things if you don't really want them. I also have implied volatility because this will be important here for one of the Greeks. So I'm going to go ahead and press done here. So here's what I'm going to see now. So again, we have calls on the left, we have puts on the right, we have the bid, the ask, the mid, then we have implied volatility, then we're going to have delta, gamma, theta, and vega. So let's take a look here at how the Greeks affect your options. Because again, if you don't understand the Greeks, if you don't look at the Greeks, you can end up losing a lot of money. And I see this every single day, right? People will be shocked when they buy a call, for example, the price of the stock goes up, but the value of their option loses money. And we're going to take a look at how that's possible here with the Greeks. So we're going to go in order here from starting at delta and then going over to the left here. So let's talk about delta here first. So firstly, the value of this call option, right? You can basically look at the mid. This will basically tell you around how much it's going to cost if you're going to buy it, or how much premium you're going to get if you're going to sell it, right? So I'm going to be using this 46.50 strike here for today's video. So if I wanted to buy this call option at the 46.50 strike, if I wanted to buy this, I would have to pay $318 here. That's what this is telling me. Similarly, if I wanted to sell this, I would get paid $318, right? And then on the put side, right, same thing with the mid. If I wanted to buy this 46.50 put, it's going to cost me about $312. If I wanted to sell this put, I'm going to get about $312 for selling the put, right? Again, you basically look at the mid, it's going to tell you about how much the option costs. Now, if we take a look here at the first Greek, which is delta. Delta tells me how much the value of my option will increase or decrease by with a $1 increase or decrease of the price of the stock. Now, one very important thing to note here is that all of these Greeks are telling you how much the value is per share. You got to remember that each contract controls 100 shares. So to get the true value, you do need to multiply this by 100, right? So if I take a look here, delta for this particular option that I'm looking at for the calls, right? Delta is 0.5397. So what this tells me is that if the price of a firm goes up by $1, the value of my contract, which is $318, will go up by what delta is. So if a firm goes up $1 to $47.55, the value of this contract will go from $318 plus 0.5397, so to $372. So if a firm goes up by $1 right now, the value of this contract will go from $318 to $372 because we have to add whatever delta is to it. Now, similarly though, if the price of this stock goes down by $1 from $46.55 to $45.55, then the value of this contract will drop by whatever delta is. So in that scenario, it would go from 318 to 318 minus 53.97, which would be about $264, right? So as you can see, when you're buying a call, that's why that's why you're going to make money when the price goes up, because when the price goes up, you add delta to whatever the price of the option is. However, when the price goes down, you have to subtract delta from whatever the price is, and that gives you the new price of the option. Now we take a look at puts here. We take a look instead, if we were looking at puts, again, for example, for this put, right, if I wanted to buy it, it'd be $312. Now delta, as you can see, is negative, which makes sense because with a put, you make money when the stock goes down, not when the stock goes up. So similarly here, if a firm goes up by $1 to $47.55, the value of this put option will go up by 0.4638, right? Because again, when you buy a put and the price of the stock goes up, you lose money because a put is a bearish strategy. So in that scenario, we would have to add this to whatever the price of the option is. So the value of a firm, if the price of a firm goes up by $1, the new value of this contract will be 312 plus negative 4638 or $265. However, if the price of a firm goes down by $1, now we get the price of the option and we subtract the delta, which is negative. So we're subtracting a negative number, which means we would add it. So if the price of a firm drops by $1, the new value of this option would be 312 plus 4638 or $358. So again, delta is very important because again, it's going to tell you how much the value of the option will increase or decrease by with a $1 increase or decrease of the price of a stock. And remember, when you're buying an option, you want the value of the option to go up. When you're selling an option, you want the value of the option to go down to zero, right? That's how buying and selling options works. Now let's take a look here at the next Greek. So the next Greek that we have is gamma, as you can see here. So gamma for this particular option that we're focusing on the call side is 0.0507. Gamma tells me how much delta is expected to change given a $1 move in the underlying stock. So again, if the value of a firm goes up by $1 here, and I buy this call option, the value of this option will go up by whatever delta is. And then what we need to do is we need to add gamma to delta to get the new delta value, right? So delta is changing and it changes by whatever gamma is. So again, if a firm goes up by $1, the value of this option will go up by whatever delta is. So we would add this plus delta to get the new value of the option. And then delta is going to change by whatever gamma is. So we would add 0.0507 to delta, and that would basically give us 0.5904 as the new delta. Now, similarly, if instead a firm drops by $1, the value of this option will drop by whatever delta is. And then once that's happened, we also need to go ahead and subtract gamma from the delta to get our new delta. So the value of the firm goes down by $1, the value of this option goes down by whatever delta is, and then the new delta will become 0.5397 minus 0.0507 or 0.48. That would be the new delta value. It's going to be the same for puts, right? If a firm goes up by $1 delta, you would add gamma to it. That would give you your new delta. If a firm goes down by $1, you would subtract gamma from delta. That'll give you your new delta. So that's how gamma works. Gamma tells you how much delta is expected to change given a $1 move in the underlying stock. Now let's go on to the next Greek here. This one is very, very important here. If you've ever wondered why the value of your option lost a ton of money overnight, it's most likely due to theta. So here's the next Greek, which is theta. Theta measures the rate of time decay in the value of an option. Keep in mind, time decay represents the erosion of an option's value or price due to the passage of time. So in other words, if we're focusing on this option here, 4650 strike, right, we can see what the theta is here. What this is telling me is that if all else is held constant, right, if the price of the stock doesn't move, implied volatility doesn't change, this is the amount that the amount of the value of the option that it will lose overnight. So in other words, if the price doesn't change here, if implied volatility doesn't change overnight, the value of this option will lose this amount here. So in other words, if I buy this right now, it's going to cost me $318. If nothing changes and I keep this overnight, the next day when the market opens, the new value of this option will be $318 plus negative $23.16, or in other words, $295, right? So, and of course, like I mentioned, right, when you're buying options, you want the value of your option to go up. This is going to decrease the value of the option, meaning theta is bad if you're buying options. When you're selling options, you want the value of the option to go down. And again, since this does decrease the value of your option, theta decay is good for you when you're selling options, right? But sometimes theta can be, $100, $200 overnight, meaning you're losing $100, $200 just due to time. So when you're buying options, always check theta, because again, theta is going to tell you how much the value of your option will lose just from time decay overnight, right? And it's the same thing for puts, right? If I buy this put over here, it's going to cost me about $312. In one day, the value of this option will lose $23.24. So it's always important to take a look at theta, guys. Now let's take a look here at the final Greek. Final Greek we have is Vega. This one is also very important. So when it comes to Vega, Vega measures the risk of change in implied volatility. So in other words, it tells me how much the value of this option will increase or decrease with a 1% increase or decrease in implied volatility. And remember, we know what implied volatility is because we have this column right here that tells us what implied volatility is. So for this particular option, implied volatility is 122%. This Vega tells me how much the value of this option will increase or decrease with a 1% change in implied volatility. So if implied volatility goes up by 1% here, the value of this option will go up by 0.0256. However, if implied volatility drops 1%, the value of this option will drop by 0.0256. And again, when you buy options, you want the value of the option to go up. Meaning when you buy an option, you want implied volatility to go up. When you're selling an option, you want the value of the option to go to zero. Meaning that when you're selling an option, you want implied volatility to drop. So as an example, again, with this option here, if I buy this option, it's going to cost me $318. Let's say right after I buy this option, implied volatility drops 10%. So what we would do then is we would have to multiply Vega times 10, which would give me 0.256. And if the value of this option, if implied volatility on this option goes up by 10%, we would add that new value to the current value of the option. So again, if the implied volatility on this option goes up by 10%, we multiply this by 10, which would give us 0.256. And then we would add that to the current value of this option. So 3.18 plus 0.256 would give me 344, meaning the new value of this option would be $344, which is good if you were to buy this option, bad if you were to sell it. However, if instead implied volatility here drops by 10%, we would still multiply this by 10, which would be still 0.256. But now since it dropped by 10%, we would have to subtract that value from the current value of the option. So if implied volatility here drops by 10%, the new value of this option would be 3.18 minus 0.256, or in other words, $256 or so. $292, because again, you subtract, you'd get 318 minus 2560, right, which again would be Vega times 10. That would give you the new price of this option, which would be $292. And it's the same thing for puts as well, right? If I'm over here with the puts and implied volatility goes up by 1%, the value of this option will now go up by $2.56. However, if implied volatility drops by 1%, the value of this option would go down by $2.56 instead. So IV is very important. If IV is very high and then it drops dramatically, that's known as IV crush, and that will drop the value of the option dramatically, right? And that's why, you shouldn't be buying options for earnings, because when earnings are coming up, IV is very high. After earnings happens, IV drops a ton, sometimes 50, 60%. And again, since that affects the price of the option, usually the price of the option drops a ton the following day, which as someone buying options does not benefit you. For someone who's selling options, though, it does benefit you. So as you can see, those are the four main Greeks here that you should always take a look at. They do affect the pricing of the option, all of them in a different way. But it's very important to know how they affect the price of the option, because again, it's not just about buying a call and the price goes up and you'll make money no matter what. Sometimes the price can go up, but if IV drops a ton and theta decay kicks in, you can still end up losing money. Even if you bought a call and the price of the stock goes up, you can still end up losing money. Similarly with puts, even if you buy a put and the price of the stock drops, you can still lose money, because again, if theta is eating away at the profit and implied volatility is dropping, that will again affect the pricing of the option. So anyways, guys, always check the Greeks before you buy or sell an option. If you guys have any questions about anything I just talked about, feel free to leave them in the comment section below. Check out the Discord, link to it in the description below. Hope you enjoyed the video. Let me know what you guys think, and I will see you guys next time.